Greetings and salutations, welcome back to another very merry special episode of Morning by the Coast, a weekly podcast brought to you every Monday morning, courtesy of both YouTube and SoundCloud. Now before we get into things, I'd like to, depending on whatever platform you're listening on, feel free to head over to my website, which is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Once again, that is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Feel free to email me. My email is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, that is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Anyways, with that being said, let's get on with the show. Well, we are now in the second week of Christmas. That is so crazy to say. It seems like yesterday was October, but here we are now. If you're listening to this on the Monday, it is December 11th. Wow. It seems like we're getting to the point, though, where people are starting to host Christmas parties and really, feels like Christmas is here now. The first week was pretty slow. Even before that, I understand it was still November and it wasn't even Thanksgiving. But it still felt like Christmas was going pretty slow. But now things are really starting to pick up. A lot of people are hosting parties. Towns that host lights, or not host lights, but, like decorate the park with lights and other Christmas decorations, or people who have their own Christmas parties. I know my town had a festival sort of thing on this past Friday, and basically what that was, it was just it was put on with a town, but it was put together by the town, but it was hosted kind of by the people who lived kind of on the main road in which they hosted it on. A lot of the restaurants were open and they had like a lot of major discounts for their food and kind of just really good deals for dinner because it was later on in the day. And then a lot of houses on that street, because it was on a pretty major street. A lot of people, what they did was they had hot chocolate and other it was kind of like Halloween, I guess, but they had like hot chocolate or other like little goodies. Like candy or gingerbread men, just really cool stuff. Unfortunately, I was not able to go, but I did see some pictures and videos from it, and it did look really cool. There was a harmony or a cappella group that was there, and they were singing Christmas carols, or there were a few groups of people, I think, there, or groups of people who were doing a cappella, and just, I guess the term is Christmas caroling, but they were Christmas caroling. A lot of lights, just an all-around fun time. Unfortunately, I was not able to go, but I'm sure it was awesome. But, I'm sitting here. I have my cup of eggnog, which is nearly gone. And actually, right before I started filming, I was thinking about, what I was going to talk about. And I had a weird question, and maybe somebody can answer it. But do people drink eggnog warm? Because I've only had eggnog cold, like very cold, but I'm sure there are people out there who like warm eggnog, although, eggnog is pretty much just milk that's sweeter and more thick. I'm pretty sure that's what it is anyways. I think it's just milk, eggs, maybe, and cinnamon. I hope that's right. I definitely got that wrong, but I'm just gonna go with that. But yeah, I made that eggnog and I was like, I wonder if people drink their eggnog warm. I know it's definitely a weird thing to think about, but I'm curious to know. I know I could just Google it, but I want to hear from the listeners. I recently put up lights in my room. I have a nice set of lights which go all the way around my room, and they're multicolored lights. They're pretty cool. I usually don't turn them on that often, but some nights when I'm feeling a little bit more festive, I like to plug them in, and they don't really do a good job at lighting up my room, but they're pretty cool. I like them. I also just installed the soundproofing in the corner of my room where I record. I don't know if there's much of a difference in the quality. Hopefully there is, but it was tedious having to hang it up. I first tried to hang it up using tape. And if you can imagine using styrofoam and tape, they're not really supposed to stick together. So then I just used thumbtacks, which probably wasn't the best thing, but, whatever. You gotta do what you have. But they're up. they're they're in there. They're not moving. I would like to acquire more soundproofing just to fill in a couple small gaps, and then behind my desk, not like close to the ground, but I have another probably half a foot to a foot maybe. I'm trying to see, but it's kind of hard to. But I want to get another a layer behind my actual desk or behind my monitor, to put another layer there, and then I have a couple just small cracks that I would like to put soundproofing in. Anyways, with that being said, one of the first things I would like to talk about is trees and Christmas trees. Well, Christmas trees, not just normal trees. Specifically fake versus real trees. And I had this topic suggested to me by a fellow friend of mine, so if you're listening to this, hello, thank you. So I'm going to be talking about which I prefer. Which one do I prefer out of the two, fake or real? So growing up, during my childhood, it was a mix between fake and real trees. It seemed like every couple of years we would switch off between real trees and fake trees. From what I can remember, for the first couple of years, well, the first couple of years I can recall Christmas, probably up until the ages of 7 or 8, we had a fake tree, and it was the same fake tree that we had, and it was even older than I was. I mean, I don't even know if that thing is still around, but when I was like 6, it was already like 15 years old, and we had acquired it from somebody else. But I remember it was fun putting up the fake tree every year, kind of piecing it together. It was always a concern, like, I wonder if we have all the parts, but, you know, when it's sitting in there for 11 out of the 12 months, it's kind of hard to lose the pieces. But I noticed more towards the end of its life cycle, within the past 3 years that we had used it. Like I said, I think we used it up until I was about 8 or 9 years old. But those last 3 years, I kind of noticed how the tree was not really holding up. It was kind of, falling off, literally. It was rusty, kind of like where you would insert, because you would have the main tree itself, which was just the big stick that connected the base of the tree, and then it goes up to the top of the tree, and then the bottom 2 layers would fold inwards, and that would be kind of the biggest branches, and then you would just stick in the other top branches onto these hooks that were on the base of the tree. But I noticed that the hooks were rusty because they were metal, and it was kind of a hassle, and it kind of sucked both putting it together and taking it apart, because there would be a decent amount of rust. But then we got a real tree that we probably had a real tree for another, let me think, probably 4 years. So we had it up until I was about maybe 12 or 13. And it was really cool getting a real tree. I never really had the experience. Usually when my parents got the tree, it was just like, we're going to go grab a tree. It was never like a family ritual or anything where we'd go out and get a tree. But when I was little, I definitely enjoyed the real tree more than I do now. It's kind of a spoiler for which tree I prefer, but we're going to pretend like I didn't say that. But we had the real tree for a couple years, about 4 or 5, and I really enjoyed that. And there's just something different about the real tree compared to the fake one. The real one obviously smelled like a Christmas tree. It smelled like pine. And I know now you can buy the like scents that you can hang from the tree that give off the smell, but they don't work as well as you would expect them to. Maybe they work really well for a couple weeks, but then you kind of, because they're just like air freshener things, so obviously after a certain amount of time they kind of lose their scent. But I don't know. The only thing that I didn't much care for was the maintenance. The maintenance on the tree was always a hassle, having to clean up the bristles or whatever it's called. That was always really sucky. And then actually once Christmas was over, it's like, okay, now we have to get rid of this massive tree. What the heck are we going to do with it? But after that, we switched to again a real tree, and that's kind of what we've been using ever since. And I think I like the real tree better. There's just something about the real tree. It's easy. You don't have to worry about stupid branches. And now the fake tree technology is much better than it was 20, 40 years ago. So they definitely kind of keep their quality for years and years. I know we've had ours, I want to say 4, maybe 5 years, and we haven't had any issues with it. Hopefully, it stays that way. But I think, I think real trees take it. Nope, fake trees. I meant to say fake. I don't know why I said real. I do like the real trees. The real trees definitely look a lot better. But there's just something about the fake trees. They're just really cool. You can get them in different colors. They have them in white. You can get them in red. You can get probably in purple. Any color you can think of, you can probably find a fake tree in. And but real trees, like if I had to pick, I would obviously go with the fake tree. But it would be a hard decision because it's a close fight because real trees are definitely, they have like a special place in my heart. It's like fake trees, real trees. Fake trees only edges it out by a little bit. Anyways, enough with trees. Let's talk about a more interesting topic: Christmas music. Christmas music, I feel like, is one of the main pillars to Christmas. There's just something about Christmas music. I mean, I feel like that's what makes Christmas. Well, there's a lot of things that make Christmas special. I feel like it's a major aspect that really kind of makes it special. I mean, if you think about it, Halloween doesn't really have music. The only Halloween song I can think of is the Monster Mash. Thanksgiving definitely doesn't have any music. Easter probably doesn't either. The 4th of July, I guess the national anthem or any other song about America. But Christmas has tons and tons of songs about Christmas has plenty of songs about itself. I think the best-selling song of all time is a Christmas song. I would wager that there are a lot of songs that are within that top 10 or top 100 list that are Christmas songs. But I want to talk about a couple of my favorite Christmas songs. I mean, it would probably be easier for me to list the songs that I don't like, since that list is very short and I pretty much enjoy every Christmas song. But I'm just going to talk about a couple that really stand out to me. The first one being, and probably the most embarrassing one, is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. I don't know what it is that I like about this song. It's upbeat, it's very fast, and it gets your blood flowing, gets you up and dancing. But I mean, there's really no reason behind why I enjoy that song. I don't have any specific memories or anything that really stands out to why I enjoy that song. I don't really like it. The second song that I can think of that I really enjoy is Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. All these songs have long titles. They all have long names, if you haven't noticed that already. But I remember I didn't like that song for a while. Not All I Want for Christmas Is You. Simply Having a Wonderful, I'm just going to call it Wonderful Christmas Time. Keep it short. I remember when I first heard Wonderful Christmas Time, I didn't like it, and I didn't like it for a couple years. I remember I'd always be at Christmas parties, and I would hear it, and I would just be like, yep, here comes this song again. And it wasn't, I think, maybe until this year, maybe last year, that I started to really enjoy the song and kind of gain a new respect for it. I guess is probably the best way to put it. I know a lot of people don't really enjoy it. I feel like the big issue that a lot of people have with the song is it's very repetitious. It's just the same, like, simply having. You get the point. I'm not gonna sing the rest. I've already sung enough on this podcast. I feel like I shouldn't do it again. Although I probably will by the end of this episode or at some point in the future. But it's the same line over and over with a couple other lines spliced in there. But it's just, I enjoy it. It's very simple. It's not as crazy fast or upbeat as All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's simple and it's to the point. Yeah. The next song that I can think of is "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year." That might be tied for number one actually, um, for my favorite song. Um, that's probably another really upbeat song. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Um, and I feel like that song really just applies not only to Christmas but just the span of November, Christmas, or November and December, maybe October. No, not October, but November and December. Every time I hear that song, or at least the intro, all I can think of, I don't know why. I think maybe it was in a movie, but all I can think of is just a giant mall filled with people. Um, but it's a good song. I really enjoy it. Again, similar to All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's very upbeat. It's very fast. And yeah, it might be number one. It might be. And then the final song, and this one is another kind of slow song, but Silent Night. It's a very bittersweet song. If you want to get all emotional, listen to it on Christmas Eve, like at night. Um, it gets you all sad because it's like, oh my God, Christmas is already almost over, even though it's not even here yet. But Silent Night, it's a good song. It's very mellow. It's not crazy fast like the other two songs I mentioned, or even three. I guess Wonderful Christmas Time is kind of a bit upbeat, or not upbeat, but quicker, at least in regards to the tempo. I don't know anything about music, so I don't really know what I'm saying. But yeah, Silent Night, very simple song. It's not crazy. It's very just, like I said before, kind of melancholy. But those are my four favorite Christmas songs. I want to talk more about just Christmas music generally, but I just wanted to name a couple of my favorites. And like I said, I enjoy pretty much every Christmas song. Um, like I said, it'd be way easier for me to make a list of songs that I don't like that are Christmas are related. But just more about Christmas music generally. I feel like it's a really important to Christmas and kind of the holiday vibe, and just like if you go anywhere between the day of or between the day after Thanksgiving and December 31st, you're going to hear Christmas music almost all the time. I'm sure that might be annoying for either people who don't like Christmas music or people who don't celebrate Christmas or don't like Christmas. But I guess that's kind of just the way things go. Whatever the businesses want to do, if they want to play Christmas music or if they don't. But that's neither here nor there. So this next topic might be a bit controversial, but I feel like it's definitely something that has been going on for a while, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people, if not everybody, is aware of, but kind of just decides not to talk about. But I feel like there's an issue with Christmas and kind of the commercialization of Christmas. And I understand that's kind of what Christmas is about. It's about giving, and in order to give, I mean, you don't necessarily have to purchase things to give, but I mean, I would wager that most people purchase other people gifts on Christmas. Obviously, that was kind of a no-brainer, but it seems like the day after Thanksgiving, or right after Thanksgiving, it's like, it's weird because we go from, Thanksgiving, which is all about giving thanks and being thankful, to then Black Friday, which is just chaos and just people pushing other people out of the way, trampling other poor innocent people just to save some money on the newest game console or on the newest blender. And it's kind of messed up if you think about it. I feel like a lot of people feel like they're obligated to, go out with a bang and get all these amazing presents and really just, I guess, buy presents and buy the newest pair of sneakers or the newest video game or whatever it is. And it kind of takes away from the true meaning of Christmas, and or not even just the true meaning of Christmas, but just being able to sit down with your family and have fun and reminisce about other Christmases, or watch movies, or listen to music, or whatever it might be that your family um, does on Christmas. I feel like a big focus is all about presents, and I know that's been that way for literally decades. But it's kind of upsetting, and I'm mainly talking about with Black Friday, with people who are just they turn to animals. It seems like um, I'm sure that you've seen plenty of videos of Black Friday shoppers just doing crazy things, whether it's pushing people out of the way, fighting. I think actually one year there was somebody who pulled a gun and killed somebody because they took their parking spot. Like that's absurd. That's insane that people are willing to go that far to save some deals, or to catch some deals. I know there's another year that there's an old innocent woman who got trampled to death. She got trampled to death. How does that happen? How does it happen in the 21st century? People trampling over other people and killing them. I mean, I will admit that it was an old lady, and obviously she's not some 6'2", 300 pound. 300 pound might be a lot, but 6'2". Let's just go with 6'2". But 6'2" tall person who could see over everybody else and doesn't have to worry about getting pushed over. But when you have a fragile old lady who's like 4'8" and 120 pounds, and on top of that is very old. I mean, even a 4'8", 125-pound person can probably get smushed pretty easily. But when you add on that old age, it definitely is not something that's gonna help her or him. But I mean, she got. I'm assuming it was a girl. I think it was a woman. But she was trampled to death. How did nobody stop, or how did nobody notice that they were stepping over a person? That's crazy. But another thing that I just thought of that I feel is pretty crazy is, how come she was out on Black Friday? This old lady is out just trying to get deals. Is she just trying to get diapers or sewing needles? I just want to know why she was out that late. I mean, I went with my friend this Black Friday, and I didn't buy anything. I didn't plan on buying anything anyways. I just wanted to see what things were like, and I feel like I should share my experience. I mean, luckily I made it out alive, clearly, as you can tell. I didn't get trampled to death or shot. But I went to a couple places. I went to, out of all places, Walmart. And the other place we went to was Best Buy. We went by our local mall, but they had not opened yet. I think that we went out, I think right after midnight, near 1. It was like past midnight, maybe 11 or 12:30, 12:45. But we first went can't even speak right now. We first went by the mall, and we read the sign that said that they weren't opening until 6. Surprising or not surprising, there was nobody waiting out. I guess that's kind of a good thing. But we decided to go by Walmart, and we had to wait outside. Luckily, it was not too cold. It was pretty cold, but it wasn't frigid. I think maybe it was just barely above freezing. Or no, maybe it was below freezing. Anyways, so we waited out in the little barricade thing. There was nothing too crazy that happened in the line. Just people waiting to get inside the actual store. One thing that did stick out to me was people were coming out, and I would say every probably 5 people would come out with this giant stuffed teddy bear. It was probably about 4 feet tall, and it was heavy. A lot of people were struggling to um, walk it out, or not walk it out, but you know, bring it to their car. And it was just, they were just huge, and I was like, where are these coming from? Obviously inside the Walmart, but I want to like find them and see if there are any left, just to, I guess, look at them. Um, but we waited outside for no longer than 10-15 minutes. We got in pretty quickly, and the store wasn't crazy packed. There wasn't anybody doing anything crazy. Everybody was pretty civilized. The workers were all kind of busy doing their own thing. There were a couple police officers inside as well as outside to make sure that nobody wasn't stealing anything, or if anybody were to, they would be on location to kind of, I guess, respond quickly. Um, well, we got in there as me and my friend, and we went to the electronics to look at phone cases. And I mean, people were, again, civilized. I would say the only thing that I noticed was the traffic, not literal traffic, but within the Walmart, people kind of just stopped in the middle of the aisles to look at something, or just to stop. It seemed there were a lot of people who kind of just just stood and just like looked around. It was like, what are you doing? But we looked around for a little bit. We went to, my friend had to pick up another just random things that he needed at the time, and we found the giant teddy bears. We just found a huge tote of them near the front of the store. I don't know how we didn't notice it previously, but just a massive kind of just crate filled with like 7 or 8 of these like 4.5, 4 feet tall bears. He ended up getting one. They were only $20 too, which I was shocked. I was expecting them to be well over $100, but nope, they were $20. I don't know where they're getting them from or how much they even had, but I would expect them to be gone for $20. I don't know how we managed to get a hold of them. And there were still plenty left too. When he took it, there were still probably 6 of them still in there. So then we walked up to the front of to the Walmart. There is one thing that I will complain about that I genuinely didn't understand. So there were a couple workers that kind of helped, move traffic along and make sure people were, not cutting the line or staying in line. This is for the checkout that I'm talking about. But there's this one lady who was just, I felt like she was very rude. I remember we walked over and we're kind of looking around, figuring out where the line was, and she just goes, "You can't cut the line." And we're like, "What?" She's like, "You have to go around." And she was like probably 5 feet away from us, but yelling at us. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, "You need to go around." And we're like, we're going under the tape to go in the back of the line. And then she kind of just focused her attention on something else. And then we got to the back of the line, and we didn't wait for that long either. I will say that I was expecting the lines to be much, much longer, and they absolutely were not that way at all. I think in all together we maybe waited for a total of 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes between both Walmart and Best Buy. Yeah, Walmart and Best Buy. I did think about that one for a second. But so we cashed it out at Walmart. We kind of drove around for a little bit, and then we decided that we'd go to Best Buy. And at this point, I would say it's probably 3 a.m. We were at the Walmart for a pretty good amount of time, like in the actual inside the store. I would say we probably, waiting wise, we waited both outside and in the checkout for 30 minutes. Then we actually spent 30 to 45 minutes in the actual store looking around. And then we probably drove around for another, 20 minutes before deciding to go to Best Buy. So we got to the Best Buy. We got into the line. The line was a lot quicker than it was in Walmart, on the outside that is. And we got inside. Although there were a lot of people inside, there was much. It seems like, I mean, given the Best Buy is a lot more smaller, but also more open space than the Walmart. But it seemed like there was a lot of people inside. I mean, a lot more inside than outside. Well, we looked around a little bit. There wasn't anything that stood out too much to me. I kind of was just looking around. Like I said, I didn't buy anything. I didn't plan on buying anything. There was nothing really in mind that I would buy anyways. But we looked around a little bit. I think he picked up a couple things, and then we waited in line. The checkout line was a little bit longer in the Walmart than it was in the, or nope, it was a lot more longer in the Best Buy than in the Walmart. We waited probably in the checkout for 20 minutes, I would say, maybe 25 minutes. And so we were waiting in line in the appliance section. So there were fridges, ovens, washers, and dryers. But I decided, while waiting in line, I was bored. I didn't really have much to do. I decided to open up one of the fridges. And I found just water bottles sitting there, like 40, 50 water bottles. And my friend decided to grab one himself. I don't know if they were for the staff or what they were for, but he just took one. And there were these guys who were probably 20 feet in front of us. And they were like, "Oh, you found the water bottles too?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, we found them." They were just like sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, there's just stuff in the fridge." He's like, "Oh, check the oven. There might be a turkey in there." But it was pretty funny. They were definitely nice. I mean, most of the customers that we interacted with throughout the night were all very nice people. There was no one who was rude, or I felt like was just a mean-spirited person. But yeah, I mean, most of the people were pretty nice. But we got to the front of the line, we checked out, and then we kind of left. And then we were gonna go out to eat after that. At this point, it was probably 4 in the morning, but I was tired, he was tired, and it was kind of just like, all right, it's time to call it a night. With that being said, you're listening to Morning by the Coast, a weekly podcast brought to you every Monday morning via SoundCloud and YouTube. Feel free to head over to my website, which is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Once again, that is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Feel free to email me at mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, that is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. You can email me topic ideas, any questions, or feedback, literally anything at all. Feel free to email me, and I will be sure to include it in the podcast. For the entire month of December, I'm going to be doing Christmas-themed episodes. Last week was a reel-to-reel, which is where I dissect a movie using only knowledge that I can recall of the movie, and I chose to do Home Alone. Also, next week will be another reel-to-reel, and I'm either going to be doing the movie Polar Express or Elf. I have not yet decided, but one of those movies will be included. If there's one you prefer, feel free to email me or leave a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube or on SoundCloud. And then for the final week of December, I'm going to be doing a podcast solely based on the meaning of Christmas. Anyways, with that being said, you're listening to Morning by the Coast. Anyways, I have 2 more topics that I would like to talk about. And the first one is Christmas traditions. Whether it's activities or a certain food or just anything that you do or that I do that is considered a family tradition. Now, we don't really have, my family talking, we don't really have a crazy family tradition. We kind of just all go to my grandparents' house and we have seafood, which is awesome, except I don't like seafood, so kind of sucks. But there's scallops wrapped in bacon, which are pretty cool, so I guess that's one good thing. But my uncle and I, on the other hand, have our own little tradition that we do called family bingo. It's basically just normal bingo, but with family in front of it. And what it is we make a list. Well, I'll go through the process of us making it, and then you can kind of figure out what it is. I mean, it's basically just bingo. Just has to do with our family during Christmas Eve. But within the first 2 weeks of December, we make a list of about maybe 50 things that really stand out to us in regards to like cliches about our family. like that we notice about each other, just funny little things that we notice that kind of happen every year, whether it's someone dropping like a dish or a glass or anything. Buckyballs, if you've not heard of those, it's basically just peanut butter dipped in chocolate. They're amazing. They might sound gross, but trust me, you have not experienced life until you've tried Buckyballs. But my aunt makes them for everybody, and that's kind of her gift that she gives to everybody, and it's awesome. They're amazing. Usually what I do is I'll take them, I'll put them in the freezer and let them sit overnight, and then eat them the next day on Christmas, and they're nice and like cold and hard, but you kind of bite into them and it's kind of like you have the hard chocolate, but then like the peanut butter is a bit soft. Anyways, kind of got a bit sidetracked. So the first 2 weeks we kind of dedicate just to just blueprinting, I don't think that's a word, to making just a general outline of the family bingo. And then the next week we'll kind of flesh it down to about 20 of our favorites. And then finally, within the last week, we actually piece it together. We make it look all fancy. Like we had like a cool little free space picture. And then we just add like nice little touches to it. And then we print them out and then put them onto, not cardboard, construction paper. And they all look nice and cool and Christmas themed. But this will be our second year doing it. I'm pretty sure we did it last year. It didn't really go crazy successful, but I have a lot more hopes this year. Plus a couple people found out about it, and the whole gist of it is it's only the two of us. I mean, I'm fine with other people doing it, but once everybody if everybody knows about it, then it's just going to be other people trying to pry it out of other people. Like, I feel like it's kind of obvious what would happen if everybody knew about it. That was kind of really the only rule that we had, is just you can't make something on the list happen. So it's like, so one of them is like, I don't know, somebody drops and breaks something, so like you can't somehow do something that'll impact that outcome happening. It's a pretty obvious straightforward rule, but if like other people are playing it, or like younger people are playing it, like my little brother wanted to play it, they might be more inclined to kind of make people do some of the things on the list. But it's all in good favor. It's nothing that's ever like we never target like one specific person or other people. It's more just a general list. Like you could probably take it and apply it to any family. It's mainly just like, oh, someone pulls out the NORAD Santa tracker, or like I said, someone dropped a glass, or someone gets a knockoff board game. Just like small innocent things like that. There are a couple of things on there that are specific to my family that other people probably wouldn't understand, or maybe they would, I'm not sure. But this will be our second year doing it, and I'm excited. We have not yet started it. That is the blueprints, although I'll probably start looking at last year's list that we had, and maybe start just thinking of any ideas for this year's bingo. But I remember on Thanksgiving, I was talking to my grandmother, and I said, I want to do something like a tradition that we can do every year, whether it's an activity or a craft, or maybe we all wear the same pajamas. And we're just spitballing ideas. The big one that I would enjoy doing the most is the pajamas, but obviously there's about 20 people, and you have to consider, even if each set of pajamas is $10, that's still $200 for pajamas, which is definitely not cheap. But it would be cool to kind of have a nice little tradition. We have a like a secret Santa that we do for like the adults. So you'll just pick a name from the hat, and then you have to buy that person a gift, and obviously it's just like every other secret Santa, like you can't get anything over $20. I think that's usually the budget. But yeah, I mean, I guess our tradition is we meet about our grandparents and have seafood and open presents. That's pretty much it. And watch. There's a parade, right? I think there's a parade. I don't know, but we watch like Christmas movies and stuff like that. Just the typical. It would kind of be cool to add an interesting kind of activity or craft or whatever you want to call it. Just something like that. So the final thing I would like to talk about is best and worst Christmas memory. And I think I'm going to start with the worst. So let's rewind to 10 years ago. I was 8 years old, and I'd gone to bed on Christmas Eve, just like everybody else. And I woke up the next day. Well, I woke up many times throughout the night, just like everybody else does. Going out and looking at all the presents, see if Santa came. I mean, even now I still wake up and check. But I woke up, and it was the next day. And I went out to the living room, and there were presents, and I was like, holy cow, Santa came. And something inside of me decided, you know what, I want to open up a present. Just one. And I still remember exactly what it was. It was a pair of camo slippers. But I opened up the gift, I saw it, and I was like, this is kind of lame. What the slippers? So then I opened up another one. I don't remember what the next present was, but I opened it. And then I opened up another one. And then another one. And then my brother woke up. And he came into the living room. I said, start opening your presents. So we opened up our presents. And they were all opened. You might be thinking to yourself, well, what's so bad about it? You opened up your presents. Well, my parents were asleep. So me and my brother had opened up all of our presents while our parents were asleep. We had opened our presents and we left all the wrapping paper there. I think I took my favorite toy and we went into our room and I was just playing around. And then my mom woke up and came in and she saw that I had one of the gifts in my hand and she was like, did you open your presents? And I was like, yeah, I opened it just now. And whew, it was bad. She was upset, and so was my dad. There's really not much else to that story, but I mean, if I think about that now, and I don't know how I didn't get all my presents taken away, but I couldn't imagine being a parent and having wrapped all the presents, and then waking up the next morning and they're already opened and you didn't even get to see the reaction or anything. That's pretty bad. But now for my best / favorite Christmas memory. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but hopefully you'll understand. So let's rewind to last year, just 1 year. I was at my grandparents' house. It was just like any Christmas Eve. But the atmosphere was different. It felt like it was actually Christmas. I felt like I was really... I mean, for the first time in forever, it felt like it wasn't about presents, but it was about presents. See what I did there? I didn't care about any of the gifts I got. I just cared about being able to spend it with my family, and it was a great moment. And I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, I was I don't know if I would say spoiled, but I was a brat when it came to Christmas. Of course I was thankful and glad I got to spend it with my family, but really I was more hyped about presents when I was little. And I'll admit, up until I was about 16. But I feel like I'm really grateful that I'm able to, spend it with family. because you think about people who aren't able to spend it with their family, whether it's because they don't have a family, or maybe they're poor, or whatever the reason is. Not everybody can wake up on Christmas Day and see presents under their tree, even if they even have a tree, um, or sit down and have a nice dinner with their family. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't have access to that, or don't have the ability to experience Christmas in that way. And I know for everybody Christmas is different, but I mean, you have to think about people who who maybe they really enjoyed Christmas, but they they don't have family to spend it to, or they don't have the money to provide a dinner at the very least. Never mind presents. And I know Christmas is a very stressful time for some people, especially for moms and dads or grandparents who have a whole kind of barn of family members or kids to worry about. Um, but I feel like at the end of the day, like when Christmas is pretty much over, when you're just sitting there watching them open their presents, I feel like that stress and kind of anxiety of having to, work your butt off to earn money kind of goes away. And you really get to value the time that you have on that day. Just to just sit there and spend it with other people, other family members, and just have a good time. Just open up presents and have dinner, whether it's turkey or whatever you eat. And and to me, that's my favorite Christmas memory is last year. I remember we had a game, and it was like this big ball filled with like little prizes in it. Some of them were gift cards. Some of them were, I don't know, it was just like cool stuff in there. Like, it wasn't anything like crazy. It wasn't like anything super valuable, but it was just like just small little gifts. And it was this big, like, not styrofoam, saran wrap. It was just all covered in saran wrap, and you had like 30 seconds to unravel it before you had to give it to the next person. And just seeing everybody kind of just pass it around, and just everybody was just smiling and having fun. It was a really good moment for me, and I really felt like I was enjoying myself and enjoying seeing other people having fun too. And then I remember just like going to sit down and just thinking about Christmas, and in that exact moment I was just thankful that I was able to have the opportunity to spend it with my family. And it was a really good moment. And I feel like I'm finally starting to realize that Christmas is less and less about, what you get or what you ask for. Rather, it's just about just spending it with the people you enjoy most. And I feel like with this year too, there's just something that feels special about this year. I don't know what it is specifically, but this year feels a lot more special, and it feels a lot more like it actually feels like Christmas. And it's, as of filming this, it's only December 10th, but it feels like Christmas is already here. And even with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, it feels a lot more real. Like, I'm not counting down the days to, only 10 more days until I get the new iPhone, or 10 more days until I get to open up a new Xbox or PlayStation game. It's being able to see my family that I only get to see a couple times a year, or even people that I see every day or a couple times a month. I don't know. And I know maybe it's because I'm older now and I'm a lot more mature, and my wants are a lot less materialistic and more sentimental, and kind of just more based on sentimental. Yeah, more on sentimental, but I feel like that's what makes Christmas so amazing, so special. Its power that it has to bring people together or bring families together and just have fun, drink eggnog, have family bingo, argue about fake trees versus real trees, or jam out to their favorite Christmas music, or debate the commercialization of Christmas. It's that's what makes Christmas so amazing, and that's why Christmas is and will always be my favorite holiday. It just, I mean, Halloween, it's just like, ooh, it's spooky, and it's mainly, I feel like it's targeted towards kids. Like, I mean, you can't be an adult and kind of go trick or treating, or dress up, and live your life normally. It's kind of weird. I mean, Thanksgiving is kind of cool, but it feels like a crappy excuse for a holiday. But there's just something about Christmas that really kind of resonates with me, and just really, I don't know, it feels special. And I don't know, I'm kind of just rambling on at this point, but my main point is just spend time with your family, have fun. You know, Christmas isn't always about the gifts you receive, or I'll repeat what I said before. Christmas isn't always about presents. Rather, Christmas is about presents. Anyways, I kind of went off a little bit at the end, but I just wanted to kind of give a little speech about Christmas and what it means to me. I kind of gave a little bit of a sneak preview for the final week of December, the true meaning of Christmas. But I don't know. Merry Christmas. That's all I have to say. You're listening to Morning by the Coast, a weekly podcast brought to you every Monday morning courtesy of YouTube and SoundCloud. Depending on whatever platform you are listening to this, your feedback is definitely appreciated. So feel free to leave a like or a follow or subscribe or whatever. Especially this early on in the podcast life cycle, it's always good hearing back from other people and kind of hearing feedback. So I know, how to tinker the show in the way that the listeners can enjoy it, and it is just an enjoyable experience for everybody who's involved. Anyways, feel free to head over to my website, which is morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Once again, that's morningbythecoastblog.wordpress.com. Feel free to email me any questions, comments, any general feedback, or really anything at all. And my email is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. Once again, that is mbtcpodcast.info@gmail.com. With that being said, this is Morning by the Coast.